All right, recording.
All right, good evening. We are here for the April 3rd, 2023 Audit Committee meeting. Apologies for the late start. All board members are present. We have a pretty short agenda this evening. I don't believe the actual agenda was posted along with the board agenda, but I'll walk everyone through it and we'll get that posted at some point. The first two items, one was reviewing the minutes from February 6th. We'll defer that to the June board meeting and audit committee meeting. And second was the claims auditor reports. We'll also defer that till June. Our next item is our current function level summary analysis. I had a chance to review it. I don't know if anyone else did and had questions. I had just one question really. Jim, it looks great to me. I think we're on track. The only questions I had, there were two categories where we appeared to be expensed and encumbered more than what we budgeted. The first one is really not. It's about 6,000 over for a tax collector. And then the next category, I think, was personnel, 1,430. Where it looks like we had budgeted about 8,500 and we're expensed and encumbered about 40,000. So I'm wondering if you can address those two categories, Jim?
Certainly I can. So the tax collector, that was because we had a new service in place for this year. So a lot of that is BOCES expense. And that was something that was somewhat unexpected. So that it was a significant increase after we had budgeted. The 1,430 personnel is all about advertisements, and we've had a lot of those going out. It's also about any some of the legal work that has to do with the personnel hirings and things like that we have to go through. I'd have to look at that a little more closely to give you more detail, and I will be happy to do that, even to just follow up to this meeting. So,
I think you mentioned advertisements. I think we were expanding the places where we were posting, right, Frank, to try and broaden the pool, increase our diversity.
Yeah, that's Times Union has been a big hit for us. And it does cost an awful lot of funds to do so.
Okay. All right, great. I did not have any further questions on this report. Anybody else, Tricia?
I have. And I'm sorry, Jim, if I've already asked this. Can you hear me, Jim?
I can hear you. Yep.
Could you remind me what's in public information and services, the 1480?
Public information and services is our communications through BOCES. So that's the vast majority of that.
Okay, so that we started with BOCES in 2020, and that's the bump from 2019 up to 2020?
Correct.
Okay. And with maintenance of plant? Yeah. Could you just help explain the trend a little bit, just for people listening? In 2021, it was about 568,000, up from 431, and then we budgeted 911,000. And our budget.
That's correct. A significant portion of that increase is the 325,000 that we allocated towards miscellaneous projects around the district, plus the $100,000 project that continues from year to year to year. So.
Oh, great.
So Jim, that's the track, the tennis courts, correct?
Correct.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And the 2010 curriculum development and supervision, is that where this reading program has been budgeted?
No, that's actually under 2110 textbooks. So it's kind of buried in that increase that's in there. But.
Okay. And the 2630 computer assisted instruction, that you explained to me before, a bump because of the one-to-one initiative?
One-to-one initiative and all the computer work we've been doing to make sure that we can maintain it. Yes.
Okay, and one more, I'm sorry. The interscholastic athletics, the 2855. it bumped like 100,000 from 2020 to 2021. Do you have any recollection why that happened? And then we've held it at that level?
Yes, that's basically from all the work we've been trying to do on the fields to make sure that they're up to spec and make sure that they're equivalent for Title IX purposes and such. So.
And we keep it at that level in our budget to maintain what we've created?
Correct. And there's an increase for the next year, partially for coaching increases that are estimated and for more opportunities. I believe I went over that in the last audit committee where there were specific items that we were changing, or maybe last board meeting. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Great. Anyone else have questions? All right, thanks, Jim. We're going to move to number 4, which is the estimates for the reserves and the fund balances. You walk us through that, Jim?
So this is very early. It's not something I like to do, but I still do because it's a good exercise. I take the information we have and what I know is coming in and estimate our total revenues for the year. And that comes in about 27.4 million so far. Estimate our total expenses for the year based on past trends and based on the current year trends. That's a little over 27.3 million, the difference being about $78,000. So that's what our reserves and fund balances would increase by if those numbers were correct. Now, I believe they're very conservative. I believe we'll have more revenues and less expenses, but because it's a very conservative early estimate, this is what I'm going with. Then bringing it down to the actual amounts that we have in all the reserves and fund balances, I've allocated those resources as I believe they would be allocated in the June meeting, that we have to make adjustments in the June meeting to make sure they're before the taxes are set. So those are my estimates of where we'd be. You can see that a lot of money is going towards the capital projects. We have to have $4.5 million in there by the end of next year, not the end of this year. And I believe we'll be there. Assigned unappropriated fund balance is the encumbrances from year end. So I cleared out last year's, which is what you're supposed to do, and then added a just placeholder $100,000. Assigned appropriated fund balance is the amount that we put in the budget to offset taxes. And then the 4% unassigned unappropriated is the amount we're allowed under law by the comptroller. So.
Anyone have questions on this? I think it looks pretty good, Jim. All right. Okay. Thanks. And I think we're going over this too as part of the budget presentation, right? At least at a high level. Right, Jim?
I don't know that it's really part of the budget presentation because while the appropriated fund balance is in there, nothing else would be included. So.
Right. Okay, great. And then our last item, I think, except for any questions about the budget, is school lunch profit and loss. January and February. Looked like January we pretty much broke even, and then February we ran at a deficit. It looked like most of that was attributable to increases in food costs, but I didn't see the same increase in January. So is there anything you can speak to on that, Jay?
So there are fewer service days in February, so that's one of the factors because of the break week. So that usually reduces your revenue slightly, even though your expenses stay roughly the same. So.
And it looks like overall we're running at 50 to 60,000 deficit actual through the year.
Currently, yes.
Do you think we'll end up about where we were last year? Or last year we were ahead, right? The year before we had about an $80,000 deficit.
Correct. The actual, the deficit was right around, I believe it was almost 90,000 when we were all said and done. Yes. I think we'll be closer to even once we get to the end of the year.
Okay, that would be great. Anyone else have questions on school lunch fund? All right, and then our last item is if there are any questions about the budget, we can address them now or we can revisit them in the board meeting. Anybody have questions you want to address now? No? All right. Looks good. Then our next meeting will be June 5th before the regular board meeting.
Thank you.
We are adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim, for being here.
Next one,
You're welcome.
3 minutes.
Don't go